Thanks everyone for being here. I'm afraid I'm going to have a very bad hair day, so get ready. This is quite a prairie wind we have. Thank you very much to 16 Grains for hosting us today in their incredible farm. I know they had some great rain. Now they need some heat units to finish off these crops and have a great year. I want to thank our incredible team of MPs. We have Brad Redekop, who's been working very hard on getting foreign credentials recognized so that our immigrant doctors and nurses can get working. Kevin Waugh, a legendary broadcaster and someone who's been championing Canadian heritage and our common identity. Corey Tucker, a master in the matter of nuclear power, which will be very important. Rosemary Falk, a champion of the farming communities, of family values, and of the West. We have Michael Krem, a hardworking, very young member of Parliament, who, of course, was the giant slayer and is doing great work championing the people of Regina from Wascana. And my personal favorite, my own cousin, Kelly Block, who's hosting us in her riding today. And Kelly, this visit brings back many memories of coming to visit both my mother and my father's side of the family, coming out to our cousins' farms across the Saskatchewan, but in general in the vicinity of Saskatoon. My parents are both Saskatchewanians, and so as we were driving here from Alberta yesterday, I was tempted to say to our team, "Are we there yet?" Which is what we used to say again and again as kids. But before we get started, I speak on behalf of all Canadians when we lock arms in solidarity with all of our fellow Canadians who are facing evacuations as a result of wildfires that are striking so many communities across this country. I want to thank the first responders, the military members, and all others who are chipping in to help out, to protect property and people, and to fight these fires. And Conservatives call on the federal government to offer any support that either local communities or provinces are seeking in order to combat this continued menace. People across the country are suffering with this, but here in the prairies, of course, in the last 48 hours, people have had a new problem, and that is that the Chinese government has announced yet another unfair round of tariffs, this time charging a canola seed. They've already gone after oil and meal, and this is, of course, another unfair attack on our Western producers, many of whom were having a fantastic growing season and looking forward to a bumper crop. That crop is now facing tariffs from one of our biggest customers. These tariffs are unfair and unjustified, and we lament the fact that Mark Carney has been so silent and so weak, failing to stand up for our farmers against these tariffs. Meanwhile, Carney continues to provide a billion-dollar taxpayer-backed loan for BC Ferries to buy Chinese-made vessels. Can you imagine that? The sign of weakness that Carney is sending to the dictatorship in Beijing. You tax and tariff our farmers, and we'll give you a billion-dollar loan to create jobs in your country. That kind of weakness has led to failure after failure. Remember, Mark Carney promised that he was an international man of mystery who was going to negotiate deals and end tariffs. Well, what's the result been so far? Let's start south of the border. Since Prime Minister Carney took office, the Americans have doubled tariffs on Canada, while they signed deals with Europe, Japan, and other countries. They have increased penalties and increased the number of tariffs. Meanwhile, Mark Carney has made concession after concession, removing the digital services tax and counter tariffs while getting absolutely nothing in return. He sent his ministers to Mexico to try and get a bilateral deal with them. The Mexicans sent the Liberals packing. Yeah, he's done photo ops in Europe, but he hasn't got any deals, while the Americans have signed a deal to sell $750 billion of their energy products to the Europeans. Not a single dollar of European commitment to buy Canadian energy. It seems like since Prime Minister Carney took office, it has been American tariffs up and Liberal elbows down. We are seeing a back down and a failure. But we take no delight in this because as Carney fails abroad, Canadians pay the price at home. Here in Canada, things are not changing as he promised they would. In fact, they are actually getting worse. In replacing Justin Trudeau, he claimed that things would be different. Well, they're different only in that they continue to worsen. There have been many grand announcements, high-profile meetings, and grand statements, but none of the results promised. Government spending is growing faster than ever, faster than when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister. Inflation and the cost of living continue to rise. Housing costs, which had already doubled, are now rising faster than before. And we see that the home building numbers are worse today, even after Carney promised that he would double them. Crime rages in our streets as catch-and-release laws still release the most dangerous monsters to terrorize our communities. Carney has kept Justin Trudeau's out-of-control immigration numbers. Worse, the Liberal government has lost track of 600 foreign criminals with records of committing crime in Canada who should have been deported but are now wandering our streets, God knows where, doing God knows what. Low-wage temporary foreign workers take jobs and drive wages down for our youth. No major projects, such as pipelines, have been proposed, approved, or begun construction. His energy cap, Carney's energy cap, industrial carbon tax, and continued support for banning pipelines, for the laws that ban pipeline, are keeping our resources in the ground and making us more dependent than ever on the Americans. So much for, he said it was going to be build, baby, build. So far it's been block, baby, block. He's not actually getting anything built. He's all talk and no action. Things are not different. They are getting worse. And there's more trouble ahead. Mark Carney's promised to ban your gas truck and car, which a ban that begins phasing in just months from today. It will kill jobs, balloon cost, and grind rural communities to a halt. Farmers, ranchers, resource workers would not be able to do their jobs because EVs don't work over long distances and in cold weather. It would literally erase many small towns from the map. Now, a lot of people will say that is hyperbole, but I asked the farmers here today, could the rural communities across the prairies actually continue to go on if they had to drive exclusively electric vehicles? Could that run on an electric battery? How could you move your grain to markets? How could you do the regular work that's required to have a pickup truck in minus 40-degree weather in February? It is simply not possible. What Mark Carney was doing by banning gas vehicles is he is banning the rural way of life. Communities across Western Canada, rural Ontario, y compris au Québec, and in the rural Atlantic would be gone. And forget about the northern territories of our country, where this pipe dream would be impossible. There's not even the electrical infrastructure. It would cost $300 billion to put in place the electrical charging stations and transmission networks to actually do that, which would be thousands of dollars of costs in higher taxes and prices for consumers for every single family. And not only would it eliminate rural communities, it would eliminate our auto sector. And don't take my word for it. I want to quote from a letter by automotive manufacturers who said, and I quote, this is a letter to Mr. Carney, to which he has not even responded. There is no longer a pathway to achieving the government's mandated sales level of 20% in 2026. If the mandate is not urgently repealed, it will inflict serious damage on automakers, the dealership network, and the hundreds of thousands of Canadians employed in the sector. The result of this regulation is lower vehicle sales, higher prices for Canadians, and less jobs for the sector. The heads of the major manufacturers are not the only ones sounding the alarm. Nearly 50 Ontario mayors have written Mr. Carney telling him to scrap his ban, warning that, quote, self-inflicted harm, end quote, will damage jobs and investment in their communities. Yet, starting in just a few months, on January 1st, the Carney mandate, the Carney ban on your gas vehicle will begin to be phased in. It will require 20% of dealership sales to be electric, and any car sold above that quota will pay a $20,000 tax. I call it the Carney tax. The Liberals' mandate would continue to worsen as years go by until 2035, when gas vehicles would be banned altogether. The auto industry is already under enormous stress after Mark Carney broke his promise to get a July 21st, 2025 deal with to end the tariffs imposed by the United States. The last thing they need is a job-killing, price-hiking gas vehicle ban. The CAA found that all electric vehicles can lose 40% of their power during cold winters. EVs that are comparable in utility and function to their gas-powered vehicles on average cost about $20,000 more. Consumers should be free to choose the car or truck that they drive. They should be able to decide for themselves what they buy and how they get around. And yet we know that Mark Carney's plan will punish them for making those choices, and according to the Canadian Journal of Economics, kill 38,000 jobs across this country. That is why I am announcing today that Conservatives are launching a massive nationwide campaign to stop Mark Carney's ban on gas-powered vehicles. This campaign will include motions in Parliament, pressure campaigns in local Liberal MP ridings, press conferences and events at car dealerships across Canada, petitions, and other activities that will mobilize Canadians to maintain their right to decide what car they can afford and what car works for them. It's time to put Canadians back in the driver's seat. It's time to put Canadians back in the driver's seat so that they can decide what life they want to live. Mes amis, le plan de Mark Carney pour bannir des voitures à essence va tuer des emplois, effacer des communautés rurales à travers le Canada, attaquer les gens dans les régions où on a besoin des camions. Nous, les conservateurs, veulent remettre les Canadiens au volant. Et c'est pour ça que nous lançons aujourd'hui une campagne pour contrer l'interdiction libérale sur des voitures à essence et avec le but pour redonner aux Canadiens la liberté de choix dans l'achat de leurs voitures et de leurs camions. Nous croyons que les Québécois et les Canadiens ont la sagesse et le bon sens de choisir leur propre voiture et leur propre camion. Et nous voulons sauver les emplois et réduire des prix. Après 10 ans des libéraux, les prix sont trop élevés. Mark Carney est en train d'échouer les Canadiens avec un taux d'inflation, le coût de la vie, les taxes et les impôts et l'immigration qui est hors de contrôle. Après 10 ans, Mark Carney a dit qu'il allait être différent encore. Il est encore pire que Trudeau, encore plus coûteux et encore plus incompétent. Nous avons besoin d'un leadership conservateur pour défendre nos communautés dans les régions, nos consommateurs et nos familles. Et c'est pour ça que nous allons défendre votre droit d'avoir un véhicule à l'essence et de vous remettre au volant. My friends, it's time to put Canadians back in charge of their lives. And, it brings back a lot of not just memories of those road trips and the visit to the farm, but when we used to come out here from Calgary, driving that distance to visit family here, my parents told me that the opportunity in this country was as big as the prairie sky, that if I wanted something in life, I just had to work hard for it, and it was possible here in Canada. That's the country that we've lost over the last 10 years. But the good news is we as Conservatives are going to fight to restore that great Canadian promise so that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work pays off. And whether you come from a farm in the prairies or an assembly line in the manufacturing belt of Ontario, ou vous êtes un fermier au Québec, or if you are a fisherman from out east. If you work hard, you can have a great life, build a beautiful future for your family. That's what Conservatives are working to build, and that's what we'll be fighting for when we get back on the floor of the House of Commons in September. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from the floor.
With CKOM News.
Hi there.
Hi. Our Premier's been calling to lift the electric vehicle levies since before the election. If that's something that doesn't go through, what is your stance on it? And would you want to call for anything else if that doesn't happen, like, say, revoking or reducing access to rare earth mineral mines or loans to the Chinese government?
Well, thank you very much. The electric vehicle mandate is that the Liberals are imposing on Canadians is a complete and utter disaster. It would cripple Saskatchewan and most of the prairie provinces. Rural communities in much of Canada would simply cease to exist over the next 10 years without the ability to use gas and diesel-powered vehicles. And it is not an exaggeration to say that Liberals are effectively banning rural life when they ban gas and diesel-powered trucks. That is why today we have announced that Conservatives are launching a nationwide campaign, including in the House of Commons, to force the Liberals to back down on the carny tax and the gas vehicle ban, to allow people to have the freedom to choose the vehicle that is most affordable and most effective for their lives, and to put Canadians back in the driver's seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Aiden Jagger, Saskatchewan Star Phoenix. Do you support encouraging solar panel production in Canada, given our mineral resources and the global shift to renewable energy to help grow Canada's GDP?
So I support the free market. I believe that we should buy the energy that is most affordable for Canadian families. I don't believe that we should bring massive government subsidies or force Canadian consumers to pay higher electrical and power bills to subsidize solar panels or any other particular type of energy production. We need to harvest our resources in this country. We have cheap, affordable natural gas. We have hydroelectricity here in Saskatchewan. We have the biggest supply of uranium anywhere on Earth, something Corey Tucker, our nuclear energy critic, could tell anyone about. And those sources of energy are Canadian-made. They are affordable. My purpose when it comes to energy, we need low-cost energy. The best way to defeat poverty and expand the quality of living of our people is to have affordable, reliable energy using the massive abundance of resources we have beneath our feet. But unfortunately, Mark Carney is keeping in place Trudeau's anti-development laws, C-69, which makes it 19 years to get a mine approved. So how are we ever going to get the critical minerals and the uranium to the surface in order to power nukes? How are we going to get hydroelectric dams built when they have to go through 10 or 11 years of reviews by the federal government? How are we going to get natural gas production booming to supply generators for electricity and heat for our homes when Carney's anti-development laws keep everything in the ground? The reality is Mark Carney is not different than Justin Trudeau. He is worse. What we Conservatives are calling for is a Sovereignty Act, which will allow us to become energy independent. Let's legalize pipelines and rapid development by repealing C-69. Let's legalize shipping of oil off the North BC coast by repealing C-48. Let's get rid of the energy cap to produce more Canadian petroleum in Western Canada, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Let's get rid of the industrial carbon tax to produce more at a lower cost. And of course, let's get rid of the Carney tax and let people drive any car or truck that they choose. That's what we're saying. Cheap energy, a powerful economy, a sovereign Canada.
Thank you. Next question.
Oh, hi. Jeremy Warren from CBC Saskatchewan here. My question is about canola tariffs. And, should Canada reduce or repeal its tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles if it would help reduce Chinese tariffs on canola? And what kind of support should the federal government be providing canola producers?
Well, first of all, let's recognize that China's tariffs on our canola producers are totally unjustified. They had already targeted our beef producers before there were any electric vehicle tariffs imposed on them. So the Chinese government has mistreated our economy for many years. I believe the first thing we should do is cancel the billion-dollar federal loan that Mark Carney is extending to BC Ferries to have them buy Chinese ships. Mark Carney is giving $1 billion of shipbuilding contracts through a taxpayer-funded loan to the Chinese government and the Chinese economy. That is crazy. At a time when they're targeting our farmers, I think we should look at ways we can penalize the regime in Beijing for targeting our farmers. And so far, Mark Carney has said nothing about the canola producers. It's like he doesn't care about Western Canadian producers. You know, I had my team check his Twitter account. He hasn't tweeted a single thing about canola, yet he's been able to tweet about International Cat Day. So isn't that nice? You know, we need a prime minister who will actually stand up for all Canadians, including and especially our prairie producers. Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Merci beaucoup. Le gouvernement chinois nous a ciblés avec des tarifs contre le canola et des autres produits canadiens, et des tarifs et des interdictions des produits agricoles de Canada étaient déjà en place avant que le gouvernement canadien avait mis des tarifs sur les voitures électriques chinois. Moi, je trouve ça aberrant. Et tout d'abord, je pense qu'on devrait repliquer en annulant le contrat du gouvernement fédéral, le prêt d'1 milliard de dollars que le gouvernement fédéral fournit aux BC Ferries pour acheter des grands navires provenant de la Chine. Moi, je crois qu'on devrait aussi trouver des autres façons de cibler l'économie chinoise afin de contrer l'attaque contre nos agriculteurs. Malheureusement, Mark Carney a montré une faiblesse monumentale. C'est pour ça que les autres pays croient pouvoir cibler le Canada. Ils ne voient aucune conséquence. Les Américains nous frappent avec des tarifs. Les Chinois nous frappent avec des tarifs. Le premier ministre ne fait aucun progrès pour ouvrir des autres marchés outre-mer afin de diversifier nos marchés. Donc, les pays du monde croient pouvoir nous attaquer sans conséquence. Nous avons besoin d'annuler le prêt d'1 milliard de dollars provenant du gouvernement fédéral pour punir Pékin et pour contrer les tarifs que Pékin essaie d'imposer sur nos agriculteurs dans l'Ouest canadien. I should just say, I think that what Beijing's latest attack on our economy shows is that countries smell weakness. Mark Carney has been failing. He's failed. He's backed down. He's made concession after concession vis-a-vis the Americans. He broke his promise to have a deal on July 21st. He was sent packing by the Mexican government when he tried to get a deal with them. He's got no new deals with Europe. And so the countries of the world think that they can walk all over us because of the weak leadership of Mark Carney. We need a strong leadership that stands up for this country and protects our farmers, our businesses, and our workers.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you. Gates Gorin, Global News. A question just from our national desk in regards to the Alberta by-election. Can you stay on as leader if you win the by-election with less of a vote share than former MP Damien Curry?
Well, listen, we're going to continue to work hard through to Monday, and the people of Battle River Crowfoot are going to decide whether they want strong national leadership for the local issues that affect their lives. It's going to take national leadership to reverse Carney's ban on your gas truck or car. National leadership to defend our hunters and sport shooters' right to keep their property. National leadership to get pipelines built so that communities like Hardisty and all of the smaller communities who rely on oil and gas jobs can come roaring back to life. National leadership to stand up for our farmers, and I'm encouraging people to vote to advance their local issues by having a strong national voice in the forthcoming by-election. It would be a privilege to champion the people who feed, power, and protect our country from Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello, Keenan Sorakan with CTV News here in Saskatoon. You mentioned the Prime Minister's lack of response to this new canola tariff. Given the hit that this could have to the Canadian economy, do you feel the federal government would have responded by now if this were an Ontario or a Quebec-based industry?
Of course. I mean, this Liberal government couldn't care less about the West. They disrespect its main industries. They don't. The Liberals don't care about Western farmers and Western producers. We see Mark Carney has kept in place all of the anti-energy laws that keep our oil and gas in the ground, and they continue to divide the country with real national consequences. And that's why we need a strong national voice, someone who was raised in Calgary, Alberta, who will actually champion the people of the prairies and Western Canada. The era of telling the West to pay up and shut up must come to an end, and we need a Prime Minister who will fight for all of the regions of this country.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Kira Miller with CJWW. The forestry sector received some federal support about a week ago. It's a similar size to the canola industry, yet we don't see any support here. Do you feel the prairies are being treated unfairly?
I do, yes. I think I'm 100% behind the auto workers, steel workers, aluminum workers, and forestry workers. Obviously, we should back them up because they have faced unfair tariffs from the United States. But the same support and attention should be given to our farmers. You know, it's been months now that the regime in Beijing has targeted our Western producers, and we've had nothing from Ottawa. You know, why aren't the tariffs from the government is collecting on Chinese EVs and other Chinese products being flowed back to the canola producers in Western Canada? You know, there's a tariff dispute with the Chinese government. The money raised by the Canadian government in that dispute should go back to the people who are paying the bills, paying the price, and that, of course, is mostly our canola producers. So it's time for the federal government to start treating the prairies in Western Canada with the respect people here deserve. It's time for a strong voice to stand up for the West.
En français.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Moi, je suis 100% en arrière les travailleurs en aluminium, en acier, en foresterie. Et oui, bien sûr, le gouvernement devrait appuyer ces travailleurs-là à cause des tarifs non justifiables auxquels ils font face. Mais en même temps, il n'y a rien pour les agriculteurs depuis les tarifs que le gouvernement chinois a appliqués à nos producteurs. Le gouvernement fédéral ne fait rien. Ça montre un manque de respect. Les tarifs qui sont récoltés par le fédéral devraient être acheminés, en partie au moins, aux agriculteurs qui sont frappés par des tarifs non justifiables provenant de la Chine. Et c'est pour ça que je veux être une grande voix pour défendre les intérêts de tous les agriculteurs à travers le Canada, y compris au Québec. On doit être juste pour tout le monde dans toutes les régions du Canada.
Thank you. That concludes this press conference.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone. All right.
Alors, Pierre Poilievre qui est en Saskatchewan.